Hey, we're Mother Mother.
You are live in limbo.
'Cause you're harder than the sun, and you're better than the drugs I used to love, and you did.
Hello, I'm Rachel, and I'm sitting down today with Ryan and Molly from Mother Mother. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So first off, obviously the new album coming out, No Culture. So right off the bat, even when you see the cover of the album with that porcelain-looking baby, the black and the white with the ink, and moving on to your videos where it's kind of a very minimalist, black and white, more so. And in the past, you guys have kind of played with color in other albums. So why this shift in aesthetic? What does that reflect with the album?
Well, Molly is the mastermind behind the aesthetic, which she crafted from the direction of the music and the theme being about identity and stripping away layers of yourself to sort of get to know yourself better. But I can let Molly speak to that and as to why we chose that color palette and stuff.
It's sort of like starting at ground zero, stripping away all of societal's infiltration and starting from like your true essence. And I chose the palette. It's almost like ghostly, like you're not quite formed, like you don't have an identity yet. And white being, it contains all of the colors of the spectrum. So we all contain infinite potential.
I like that. That definitely does seem, in the songs that have been released, it's definitely a lot of play with identity. Talking first, the song Letter, it seems very confessional and very personal. Can you speak to the genesis of that song?
Yeah. Letter, it comes off as a tale of unrequited love, a guy longing for his beloved who's no longer around. But he's really speaking to a former version of himself and romanticizing the past. So I guess it's a tale of grieving one's changing identity.
I like that. That's really interesting. I'm going to have to re-listen to that with that point of view, definitely
Nice.
playing more into identity. And I think that's interesting because there is kind of the duality in that song then where it's like, sounds like it's speaking to a lover, but speaking to the self. And there's definitely a duality in the song The Drugs because on the surface, it's, a really has the makings of a hit, really good beat, somewhat danceable. But the lyrics themselves hold something, a little bit darker. So how, because, often we hear songs about, drugs or abuse or things like that. They can be kind of a darker in tone, but it's paired with this almost lighter tone, an interesting beat. So why was there that choice to go that direction with the song?
Well, sometimes a song's visceral energy is just innate to itself and is paradoxical to the lyrics. And you don't mean it to come out that way. It just happens. And maybe it's just the universe trying to balance the themes. I think sometimes when you reinforce a bleak message with bleak music, it becomes too bleak. Mm-hmm. And the same can be said for positive stuff.
Yeah.
So it's nice to strike that balance. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely getting a lot of balance and that sort of theme. That's really interesting. So when it comes to, this record, it's been a bit since you released your last, been a few years. Why now? What sort of, did you always, did you go off the last album and you're like, okay, let's get started. Let's make the next one. Was there kind of a period of rest before that? Like, was there some sort of divine inspiration when you're like, now we have to make this new record?
Well, we kind of make records like clockwork. Every 2 years is about the span of time from one record coming out to the next. So here we are again. Yeah. You do what you can. We're on sketch. Yeah, you do what you can in promoting the record, and when that fizzles, you get into your realm of creativity and throw stuff against the wall until it takes form and shape. And okay, we have enough songs to do it all again.
But do you feel like it's kind of like a constant then? The last dies down and you're ready right away to kind of start bouncing off those ideas and start making that music?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Do you want to speak to that?
No.
Okay. Well, hopefully that process of creativity is perpetual. Like even when you're promoting an album, you're still writing, you're still being receptive to inspiration, because the more songs you have when putting them on the chopping block, it's like an odds game. The more likely you're going to have better songs.
Yeah.
If you only have 12 songs to choose from and you're making a 10-song record,
Yeah.
it's, the odds aren't as great as if you have 50 songs. But 50 songs are hard to write in the course of 3 months.
Definitely.
So if you just keep that pressure on perpetually, you're in better shape. And then it's just, if my manager says songwriters write songs, and that really resonated with me. Like there shouldn't be these rest periods. You should just be what you are always.
You should be what you are. You should be wanting to do what you want to do if that's what you're doing. Yeah.
Totally.
Definitely.
Yeah. Same with Molly. Like Molly's always doing art. She's a true artist, always crafting, always flirting with other mediums. Aren't you, sister?
I am.
Now, speaking to that, the sibling relationship, obviously, you guys are a very established band, quite a few years down now that you've been making music and in the public eye. How has that relationship, the sibling relationship, evolved for you guys? And how do you find that's influenced your music from, that first album or that first time getting together, deciding you want to do this together, making music, to now, all these years later?
Well, I think we were saying the other day we probably would barely even talk on the phone if we weren't in a band together. So it has helped us maintain a connection, something that you often lose with your sibling when you move out of the nest. So, yeah, how it influenced the music, I think it has been nice to be able to have somebody there constantly who is honest with you, like truly honest, that you can be yourself and know that you're going to get feedback, that you don't have somebody blowing smoke up your patootie all the time.
Yeah, it's a really interesting portal of siblingship. Yeah, like even conversations that maybe would be difficult for Molly and I to have, we can have in the music.
Okay.
Yeah, like on this record, a song called "Baby Boy," which is about us and our relationship and a conversation that's difficult to have, but we sort of instigated that talk by encapsulating it in music.
And so even though you're sharing that message with the public, putting it on the album, it still is that personal conversation between you two, and that's really what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people can take it metaphorically and their own platform to deal with stuff that they have going on.
Definitely.
Or their own relationships.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, because I think I've heard of, that isn't a song that's come out yet, but I've definitely heard of that song. So it's about relationships. What other themes are contained in that song?
In Baby Boy?
Yes.
Confession and losing yourself to self-sabotage, self-destruction. And I guess, pleading for some guidance, some help, and then being lucky enough to be responded to have somebody in your life, like a sister who recognizes the downward trend you might be on and swooping in and trying to pull you out.
And so it's almost like, is it like because of that honesty that you can be real with each other and you can have those difficult conversations because you are siblings, and that honesty seems to have translated into some really honest music? I mean, that song specifically about your relationship, but the songs in general, is that, I guess that's kind of a factor. Yeah,
I mean, if you show that vulnerability in the music, then it's giving, say, Molly, the cue that I'm ready to be vulnerable and have those conversations in real life.
Yeah.
Just make sure I always sing them at you.
Yeah.
That's the important
Could you just sound pretty when you scold me?
Everything's fine to say. Well, thank you guys for chatting with me so much. No
Thanks.
Culture comes out on February 10th. Make sure to get it to hear these songs and more. And from Rachel, this is Live in Limbo signing out.